Hello and welcome to Entirely English. Now, today's video is a bit of a departure from the videos about our culture and our history. Today, we're going to focus more on the exams because I know several of you are studying English to improve your job prospects, things like that. So today, we're going to focus on the 3-tip. Before we get into that, I just wanted to mention I've noticed by the numbers, we have a few more subscribers. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with our series. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's YouTube or your privacy settings, but I haven't been informed of your names. So although I'd like to greet you individually, I have no recourse to that. So if you could pop in the comments a little introduction, say, hi, I subscribe, and maybe a bit of information about yourself. What do you find interesting? What would you like me to cover in future? That would be really useful. So welcome to all of you. Welcome to our regular viewers. And I know some of you won't be interested in this because you're more interested in the cultural aspects. So I'm probably saying goodbye to you now. But if you're sticking with us, great. Let's have a look. This is our 3-tip for examinations. And it works for all of them, whether it's PET, FCE, IELTS, CAE, even the American one was TOEFL. This tip will help you. And it's not the top 3 tips. This is the 3-tip, or the rule of 3, if you like. 3. So, yes, it is a magic number. What is it? This really particularly focuses on the speaking and the writing aspects of the exams. Let's begin with the writing. So 3. Let's begin with the basics. When you're writing an essay, your essay, as you must be aware, is separated into 3 parts: introduction, the body of the text, and the conclusion. That sounds great, but what are they? Well, I was told this when I was at college, and I found it really useful ever since, so I'm going to share it with you now. 1. Introduction. You say what you are going to say. The body of the text, you say it. And the conclusion, you say what you've said. It's as simple as that. Say what you're going to say it, say what you've said. Let's take this first image here. This is taken from the IELTS graduation book by Macmillan, and it is a sample of an exam question you might have on a graph. So we are going to say what we're going to say, which generally in this sort of thing is rephrasing the statement. The statement here is the graph illustrates the number of Chinese, Japanese, and Indian students who enrolled at North Dean University over a 5-year period. And basically we rephrase that. We say the graph shows over a space of 5 years the number of students who enrolled at Dean University from Japan, India, and China. And you can go on to say, if you like, it won't affect the marks at all. And I'm going to explain the main points. You say what you're going to say. I'm going to explain the main points. Or this graph has several interesting features. That's a better way of introducing what you're going to say. And then you say it. So you're going to talk about the features of this graph. Now here the magic 3 comes in again. We pick 3 points, and generally they are the points you see immediately. So on this graph, our first point is, while the numbers of enrollments of Chinese and Indian students increased over this period, the number of Japanese students decreased, plummeted, dropped significantly. And then you include the numbers. Then your second point, they come closest in 2001, when Japan and China had the same number of enrollees, and India had only slightly more. And then the third point, and you might want to pick one of them. I think the Japanese one is the most interesting. We can see in the graph that between 1999 and 2000, there was a steady decline in Japanese enrollments. And then it sharply declined. It plummeted between 2000 and 2001, at which point it plateaued, leveled out, until 2002, when between then and 2003, it again dropped drastically, finishing at, and you include the numbers. So you have 3 points, and that's enough words for this. And you can add a conclusion. It's not necessary on this. You don't need to add a conclusion on these. But if you say what you said, you can say, so the graph shows over a 5-year period that the numbers of enrollees from Japan declined remarkably compared to those of India and China. That's your 3 points. This also works in letter writing. So here we have a question from the Skills for FCE Writing by Macmillan, and a letter. Here it says, you saw an interesting film at the cinema last night. Write a letter to your pen friend explaining why you enjoyed the film so much and recommending that they see it. So again, our letter has 3 parts: our introduction, the body, and the conclusion. They're slightly different from reporting, but it's the same principle. Introduction. In these letters, we generally refer to an imaginary letter we've had previously. So you say, Dear John, thanks so much for your letter. The pictures of your holiday were wonderful. It looked like you had a really good time. Now you can, and this is a good piece of advice for you, create introductions and conclusions that you can use on all letters. Maybe have 3 different types. Talk about pictures you had received from them, talk about their exam results, talk about their family. And your conclusion is generally going to be the same. And we'll come to the conclusion of the letter in a moment. So your introduction, Dear John, thanks for your letter. It was wonderful to see the pictures of your holiday. The jungle looked amazing. I look forward to talking to you about it when you come and visit next month. You can link in here, if you're clever, is talking about jungles. I saw a really interesting film at the weekend. New paragraph where we talk about the film. And the body of the text, we're again going to have 3 points. So in this one, about a film, the first part is the name of the film, what it's about. Second part, talk about the actors, the director, the cinematography, things like that. And the third part, your recommendation, something like, I think you should see it because I know you love Tom Hanks. Okay, so we got the 3 parts there again, gives you plenty of words, enough words for the essay, but not too many, not too few. And then conclusion, this is where you end the letter. And then if it's an informal one like this, your conclusion will be really strange. I don't know why, but in England, I think other British-speaking countries, obviously they're affected by their history, we always make an excuse for ending the letter. So you might say, I've got to end the letter now because Mum has made dinner, or I've got to end the letter now because I have to get on with my homework. It's ridiculous because obviously it's a letter. It's not a phone call. You could stop the letter, do your homework, have your dinner, come back and continue writing. But we always use that sort of excuse for ending a letter. Sorry, I've got to go now and have to walk the dog. I hope to hear from you soon. Do go and see that film, love. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so our 3 points work there as well. And in a formal letter, we generally start with the introduction. Dear Mr. Ellis, what we're going to talk about. I'm writing in response to your advert for a summer job working in your cafe. The body of the text, again, you're going to have the 3 points. You tell them about yourself. I am currently studying at blah, blah, blah university. and I am free this summer, so I would like to come and work for you. Next part, I have experience. You talk about your experience working in retail, not in cafes. So this would be a very good opportunity for me to learn. Third point, why they should hire you. I'm a very dedicated worker, very prompt, and I learn quickly. Conclusion, say what you've said. Thank you for reading my letter. I've enclosed my CV. As you can see, I have other experience which could be applied to this job. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Yours sincerely, blah, blah, blah. So 3 points again. And when we move on to the speaking part, there are the 3 parts of the speaking exam in, for example, the IELTS. The first part is very simple. It's really nicely constructed, actually. It's to make you feel comfortable. Hello, what's your name? Where do you live? Do you go to school or do you work? Very simple questions with 1-sentence answers. Second part is more detailed. They'll give you a cue card and ask you a question, and there's several points. You can see that on this picture here. Now, this page from the IELTS graduation book by Macmillan also includes a brainstorm. Although we're not allowed to call it brainstorm now because that's not politically correct. We have to call it a thought cascade or a mind map, because apparently a brainstorm is offensive to people with epilepsy. Until the manic PC people got onto that, I don't think any person with epilepsy ever thought of brainstorm as related to them. But anyway, I still call it a brainstorm because I'm not really politically correct. But if we look at this, we can see the instruction. Describe an older person who's had an influence on your life. You should say who the person was, when you met them, what they did that was special. You should also say why they were important to your life. So they include all the points you have to include in your speech. And it's very important to include all of those points. That's really, really key to the examination. Include all of the points. Now, this is where the rule of 3 will help you a lot. Introduction, you are going to say what you're going to say. And my advice to you is to include a brief touch on each of these points in your introduction. So you'd say the person who's had an influence on my life is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right, say who this person is. He is an actor and bodybuilder and was governor of California. When you met them, I haven't actually met them, but I've been influenced through films, through documentaries, through TV shows. So you can smudge a bit on it doesn't have to be somebody you've met. And what they did that was special, they overcame the problems that Hollywood saw in their accent to become one of the biggest film stars in history. And why they're important in your life. Arnold Schwarzenegger is important in my life because he still pushes on, even though people said he wouldn't amount to anything because of his accent and his imprecise English. He even became governor of California. Right, we've covered everything in the introduction. In the main part, we go back and the body of the text, like in writing, we go back and we cover each of these points in more detail. You've already covered all of the points, so you're not going to lose any marks. You gain marks. And now, as we speak about them individually, we can use our grammar, our linking words like however, nevertheless. We talk about each of those points. You probably won't get to a conclusion because if you've done this right, the examiner will say, thank you very much, and stop you because you have to talk for about 2 minutes. So the idea is to keep talking. You don't really want to get to that third part, the conclusion. If you run out of ideas, you can do a conclusion. Draw it to a close by saying, and so you can see that Arnold Schwarzenegger has had an impact on my life and many other people's around the world. He started from being a bodybuilder with this Austrian accent, imprecise pronunciation of English, to being a very powerful person in America, and possibly he would have been president if it wasn't for their rules and regulations. You could just keep going until the examiner has had enough. All right. Now, in the CAE exam and the PET and the CELPIP, you're asked to compare pictures or report on pictures. Again, the rule of three will work here. So if we compare these two pictures, you're asked, compare these pictures and say which environment you would prefer to work in. Pick the three things that stand out. Introduction. When we look at these pictures, we can see there's very noticeable differences between the two work environments. We say what we're going to say. We're going to talk about these differences. Then pick out three things that are noticeable. First thing is that the small office on the left is cluttered. So we talk about that and compare it to the neat, organized space in the right-hand office. Second thing, the right-hand office is bright and airy. So we talk about that and compare it to what looks like a little cupboard this person's going to be working in. And then thirdly, what are we going to talk about? Organization. So not just messy, but the picture on the left has papers everywhere. There's several cups lying around. It looks dirty. It gives the impression of filth. Whereas the right-hand one is very clean. You get this impression that the cleaning lady has been in that morning and dusted all the sides and polished the globe and everything. And then your conclusion, personally, I would like to work in the right-hand office because it would give me more space, more feeling, more focus on my work. Whereas the left-hand office, I, like the person who possibly works there, would leave it as often as possible. All right. You'll find this rule of three works for every part of the speaking and writing exam. Not the writing exam where you fill in words, obviously, but in your compositions, in your creations. Okay? So I hope that's helpful. I do go into more detail and more focus in my classes. So, if you want to study English, look at the details below. There are my contact details, my webpage, which I'm going to redesign because I've been told that is like the office on the left in that picture, cluttered and messy. So, anyway, that's it. Little tip of three, the magic three. If you enjoyed this, do please click the like button. If you want to stay up to date with the future videos, click subscribe. If you know anybody who would enjoy this video or for whom it would be very useful, that you think it would help them in their exam preparation, do feel free to share it. Do come back next time. Have a great week. See you soon. Bye-bye.